Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to convert an ANALYTIC rubric into a holistic rubric, or if you want to develop holistic rubric from scratch, that is also possible by watching this video. Okay, so without further ado, marilah kita melihat contoh ANALYTIC rubric. So this is an example of an analytic rubric. I just want to reiterate the properties of this rubric because those will be the terms that I'll be using sekejap lagi. Okay, so in analytic rubric, what we have on one side, these are the criteria, the aspects that we are going to assess any particular performance. And then we have performance quality with the range of scores for each quality. So it ranges from beginner being the lowest to expert being the highest performance. And within this table, we have descriptions for each quality that represents each criterion. Okay, so you have to bear with me because we are going to develop this rubric from scratch. So now, based on this analytic rubric that we have, we are going to develop a holistic rubric. All right. So in the development of holistic rubric, the highlight or the main variable that we want to showcase would be the performance quality. All right. The criteria will not be stated explicitly. Macam salah sebut je. Okay. The criteria will not be mentioned or stated explicitly in the holistic rubric, but it will be embedded as part of the descriptions. Okay. So I just want to make sure that the view is nice so that when you watch this from your phone, it can still be clearly visible. All right. If we have three quality, okay, then we need to have those quality here in the rubric. So now we have three. So when you are coming up with your table, okay, as any holistic rubric only has two columns, okay, but since we have three qualities, so we're gonna have four rows here. And the first one are just labeling, okay. So we are going to put that one side and do it like this. Okay. So first we're going to have levels here and the other one would be descriptions. Let's have this big enough so that we can really see clearly. Okay, I'm going with Arial and I want it to be bold. So what we want to do is to take this and arrange them here. Okay, so we are taking the qualities and we start with the highest quality, experts, 8 to 10. And then we have, bukannya tak boleh copy and paste kan, nak juga type. Biasa lah orang tua macam tu. Okay, just bear with me. Yeah. And finally, we have beginner with 1 to 4 marks. Let's bold this and, yep, and make it right in the middle. Okay. Now that we have our performance qualities in our holistic rubric, what you want to do next might be ke, memang ini dia kena buat pun. We do want to summarize the descriptions here into one succinct and very simple paragraph that represent each quality. Okay, so because this is beginner, okay, so I'm going to type one by one. The volume, maybe the voice is too soft and can't be heard at all. The reader pauses every now and then to work on words. Monotonous. Okay, so what I'm doing is I basically just take everything here and put these three different sentences into one paragraph. This is possible because this is only a very simple rubric. But if you do have a rubric with, for example, 7 criteria, if you want to take every single descriptions and just combine them into one paragraph, then it will be a very long paragraph and ineffective. So you do need to shorten or collapse some characteristics into one sentence to make it more simplified. Okay, the aim is so that when the assessor is using this rubric to score or evaluate or assess a particular performance, this can be still read at a glance without taking too much time. Okay, so I'm going to work on the other tool and be heard, maybe loud enough to be heard. So you see how I change this sentence into slightly different manner, but still expressing the same meaning with minimal pauses to work on words. So maybe I can just take this because it is long. Slightly inaccurate translations over there. All right. Maybe a comma here will work the sentence better. Loud enough um, to be heard perfectly with river-like fluency. Wow. The reader knows. This should be in present tense. Okay. There you go. Now we do have our holistic rubric complete. Okay, so what we do is, let me just put this side by side so that we can clearly see how they differ and how they are similar in certain parts. So we do have 3 performance qualities here. So these are the 3 performance qualities with the range of scores exactly the same. What we have now are the levels and descriptions. In analytic rubric, the criteria are stated explicitly in the rubric. However, in the holistic rubric, the criteria are not stated in a standalone manner. They are integrated into the descriptions. You may state the criteria in the descriptions. For example, the volume is to solve. The fluency, you can do that. No, not a problem. Sometimes when you have too many criteria uh, in our rubric, we still have criteria in holistic rubric. It's the same criteria. It's the same. We can use both of these rubric to assess the same performance, but the focus on the kind of evidence that we want to gather is different. Okay, I'll talk about that in a few seconds from now. It's just that the criteria is not highlighted as per the manner they are highlighted in the analytic rubric. Okay, so when do we use holistic and when do we use analytic? And um, why analytic rubric is viewed to be more reliable than holistic rubric. Okay, so we use analytic rubric with formative assessments when feedback is important. And when you have criteria being stated explicitly like this, we can get diagnostic information about students' performance. Now we've covered that in our class. Okay, with holistic rubric, it is recommended that holistic rubric being used for summative assessment when achievement is required in terms of the evidence of this achievement, but feedback is not necessary to be provided to the students because it is summative. All right. Um, However, all right, when we are using holistic rubric, we do tend to lose specific information about students' ability. For example, say for example, the students, the reader demonstrates ability at this particular level, okay, in terms of volume and fluency. But in terms of intonation, okay, the reader demonstrates intonation at this level. Now, do you want to give this reader this particular score range, or does the reader deserves this range? Chances are, all right. So if the reader is okay in terms of volume, in terms of fluency, you might want to give this reader a 6 or 7. But because intonation is scored, I mean, like it's being demonstrated with the characteristics of a beginner, so from 6 to 7, maybe now we are reducing our score to a 5, or maybe 5.5 to be fair. Okay, so say for example that we are scoring this particular reader 5.5. So sometimes do see another column um, with holistic rubric, and that will be the score. Let me just make this look slightly better visually. Okay, so maybe we want to score it 5.5. Okay, and so this is a final score. This is where the reader is in terms of um, the ability to read aloud. Okay. But when you look back at the score, you don't know exactly what would this score represent. You know that this reader is proficient, hence he or she is 5.5, but we don't have the information with regard to, okay, he is or she is proficient in terms of fluency, in terms of volume, but intonation is not. But you don't capture that particular information here. But it's fine because the aim is not to provide feedback, but just to measure overall achievement. Okay, so in terms of analytic rubrics and holistic rubric, holistic rubric is much easier to use. You don't really have to score every single criterion as per the analytic. You just need to identify, okay, he's proficient and he's 5.5 top, and it's done. All right. So I hope with this simple explanation, now you can work on your holistic rubric. Even if you want to develop holistic rubric from scratch, not a problem. You still need to determine what will be the criteria, how many performance quality do you need. But when you work with the descriptions, they will be presented in this kind of paragraph. Okay, questions. Can they be presented in bullet point form? Yes, not a problem. Okay, but even if you do have a lot of criteria, you do want to combine all these criteria into one paragraph, but not being too long in order not to make it becoming counterproductive in you using this rubric to score. Hence, you need to collapse and combine sentences here and there to make it more faster when you go through these criteria or descriptions when you are using this to score any particular performance. Okay, I think I've talked long enough. All the best with your rubric conversion and all the best with your assignments. Till then, take care. Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera everyone.